Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Easy English Podcast. I'm Hannah, and as always, I'm here with my great friend and co-host, Alex. How are you doing today, Alex?
Hey, Hannah. I'm doing really well, thank you. I'm very excited about today's topic because it is one of the most common things English learners ask us about. It's a real classic.
Oh, absolutely. Today we are talking about two tiny words that cause huge headaches for learners all over the world: make and do. In many languages, there is only one word for both of these, so it is completely natural to get confused.
Exactly. In French, you have faire, in Spanish, hacer, and in German, machen. But in English, we split these actions into make and do. If you say I made my homework or I did a cake, native speakers will still understand you, but it will sound a bit strange. Today, we want to help you get it right every single time, naturally.
Yes, and please don't worry, we are not going to read you a long, boring list of grammar rules. We want to show you the main secrets so you can just feel which one is correct.
That's the spirit, Hannah. Let's start with the most basic difference, the golden rule, if you want to call it that. Generally, we use make when we are creating, producing, or building something new. There is usually a physical result at the end of the action. You start with nothing or with raw ingredients, and you create something you can touch, see, or taste.
Ah, like food. If I go into the kitchen with some flour, sugar, and eggs, and I use my hands to create something delicious, I make a cake, correct?
Yes, you make a cake, you make dinner, you make a cup of tea, or you make a sandwich. At the end of the process, you have a physical object that did not exist before.
That makes total sense. What about things that aren't food? For example, if I write a list on a piece of paper, do I make a list or do a list?
You make a list. Again, you are creating something new on that paper. You can also make a phone call because you are producing a connection, or you make a noise because you are producing a sound. Even though a sound isn't a solid object, you're still creating it from scratch.
Okay, I see. Make is all about creation and production. So what about do, then? If make is for creating, what is do for?
Think of do as the word for activities, jobs, duties, or repetitive tasks. With do, you are not usually creating a physical object. You're just performing an action, completing a task, or busy with some kind of work.
Let me try to guess an example. Housework? Cleaning the house is a task. So do we say do the cleaning?
Spot on, Hannah. Yes, you do the cleaning, do the washing up, which means washing the dishes, do the laundry, and do the housework in general. You aren't creating the dirt or creating the dishes. You are just performing the action of cleaning them.
Oh, that is a really clean way to think about it, pun intended. So when I sit down at my desk to study and I have exercises to finish for my English class, I do my homework, right? Because I am performing the activity of studying, not manufacturing a physical book.
Exactly. You do homework, and when you go to your job, you do your job or do work. You also do business with other companies. These are all activities and responsibilities. There is no new physical product being manufactured.
Okay, this is actually simpler than I thought. Let's do a little quick test for our listeners, and for me too, just to see if we've got the basics down. I will say a sentence, and you tell me if I use the right one, Alex. Or, better yet, I'll ask you a question.
Go for it, Hannah. I'm ready.
If I am in the garden, and I am working with the soil, planting flowers, and cutting the grass, am I making gardening or doing gardening?
You are doing gardening. Gardening is an activity, a hobby. You aren't inventing or creating the concept of a garden. You are just performing the physical activity of looking after it.
Awesome. Now, what if I decide to build a wooden shelf for my books in that garden shed? I buy some wood, I get my tools, and I put it together.
In that case, you make a shelf. You are building and creating a physical object that you can put your books on. You see the difference? Do gardening for the activity, but make a shelf for the physical object you created.
Wow, yes. When you put them side by side like that, it becomes so much clearer. But Alex, I know there are some tricky exceptions. English wouldn't be English without some weird rules that don't seem to make sense, right?
Oh, you are so right, Hana. There are always exceptions, or what we call collocations. Words that just naturally go together because native speakers have said them that way for hundreds of years. One of the biggest culprits is in the bedroom. What do you do with your bed in the morning?
By the way, if you are enjoying this conversation and finding it useful, subscribing to the channel or leaving a like really helps us reach more English learners around the world.
It really does. And please write any questions you have in the comments because we read and answer them. Anyway, back to our rules for make and do.
You make the bed. But wait, why is it make the bed? I am not building a wooden bed every morning. I am just putting the blankets and pillows back in their place. That feels like a chore, a task. Why isn't it do the bed?
You are completely right to ask that. Logically, it should be do the bed because it is a daily chore. But we always say make the bed. Maybe you can think of it as creating a neat, tidy appearance that wasn't there before. But honestly, the best way is just to memorize this one as a set phrase, make the bed.
Okay, I will just lock make the bed in my memory. What about exercise? If I go to the gym to lift weights or do some yoga, which one is it?
For physical activity, we say do exercise. You do morning exercises, you do yoga, or you do aerobics. Again, this fits our main rule because exercise is an activity, not a physical object you can take home in a bag.
That fits perfectly. But what about making a mistake? When I make a mistake in English, I am not creating a physical object either, but we say make a mistake, not do a mistake, right?
Yes, make a mistake is another very important one. You produce an error. Think of it as generating a result, even if it is a wrong one. You also make a decision or make a choice.
Ooh, make a decision and make a choice. That is very interesting because when I decide something, it happens inside my head. It feels like an action I am doing, not something I am building with my hands, but we still use make.
Exactly. Even though it is inside your head, you are reaching a final result. Before your decision, there was nothing. After your decision, you have a plan or a choice. You created a result. Let us look at a simple example. I need to make a decision about my next holiday. You would not say, do a decision.
That actually helps me visualize it. I am creating a path for my holiday. Okay, what about things we do around the house? We talked about making the bed, which is an exception, but what about all the other housework, like cleaning, washing, and cooking?
Housework is a fantastic category for this. Generally, we do the housework. Housework is a general group of tasks and chores, so do is the perfect fit. For example, I usually do the housework on Saturday mornings.
Okay, so do the housework is the general term. But what if we break it down into specific chores, like washing the dishes?
For the dishes, we say, do the dishes. You can also say, wash the dishes, but do the dishes is incredibly common in everyday English. For example, it's your turn to do the dishes tonight.
And washing the clothes?
Same thing. We say, do the laundry. Laundry is the dirty clothes. You do the laundry to get them clean. I have to do 3 loads of laundry today. It's an ongoing, repetitive task, so we use do.
So we have do the housework, do the dishes, and do the laundry. This is great. It's like a pattern. But wait, what about preparing food? If I want to prepare dinner, do I do dinner or make dinner?
For food, we almost always use make. You make dinner, make lunch, make breakfast, or make a sandwich. Think about it. You start with raw ingredients like bread, cheese, and tomatoes, and you create something new that you can eat. So, I'm going to make a salad for lunch.
That makes total sense. I start with separate ingredients and I create a meal. So I make dinner. But wait, sometimes people say do dinner, don't they? Like, let's do dinner sometime next week.
Aha! You have a very good ear, Hana. Yes, in casual, informal English, native speakers sometimes say, let's do dinner or let's do lunch. But in this context, it doesn't mean cooking or preparing the food. It means meeting up at a restaurant to eat together. It is an activity, a social plan. But if you are actually in the kitchen cooking, you always make the food.
Ah, thank you for clarifying that. So make dinner means cooking, but do dinner means meeting up for a social event. That is a very important difference.
It really is. Now, let us talk about another very common area where learners get confused: work and school. What about homework?
Oh, I know this one. We do homework. Teachers always say, please do your homework. Since homework is a task, a duty, it uses do. Is that correct?
Spot on, Hana. You do homework, you do an assignment, and you do a project. It is all about the action of studying and completing tasks. What about business?
If I am buying and selling things or working with another company, do I do business or make business?
We say do business. For example, our company does business with clients all over Europe. It is a general activity of trading and working. But if you are talking about money, we say make money or make a profit.
Oh, do business, but make money. Why do we make money?
Because you are producing wealth. You start with $0, you work, and now you have $10. You produced a result. So he wants to make a lot of money with his new app, or the shop made a big profit this month.
That is a very motivating example. So I do business in order to make money. I love how these two words work together. What about phone calls? If I need to call my mother, do I do a phone call or make a phone call?
We say make a phone call. You are initiating the call, creating a connection. Excuse me, I need to step outside and make a quick phone call.
Okay, make a phone call. What about friends? This is one that I hear many learners struggle with. They often say, I want to do new friends. But that sounds wrong, doesn't it?
Yes, that is a very common mistake, but it is actually make friends. You make new friends. Think of it as building a new relationship from scratch. You meet someone, you talk, and you build a friendship. So it can be difficult to make new friends when you move to a new city.
I like that idea of building a relationship. It makes make friends very easy to remember. What about plans? If I am organizing a party for the weekend, am I doing plans or making plans?
You are making plans. Just like decisions, plans are things you create. You decide on a time, a place, and a list of guests. You are creating a schedule. We are making plans for the weekend.
Okay, let me see if I can summarize some of these. I make a decision, I make a phone call, I make dinner, I make friends, and I make plans. On the other side, I do the housework, I do the laundry, I do my homework, and I do exercise. Am I getting the hang of this?
You are doing an amazing job. And yes, notice I just said you are doing an amazing job. We use do with job and work because they are general activities. You do a job, you do some work, and you do your best.
Do your best. I love that phrase. My teacher always used to say that to me before an exam. Just do your best, Hana. It is so encouraging. But wait, why is it do your best?
Is it because best is an action or effort rather than a physical object?
Exactly, Hana. You nailed it. Best is not a physical thing you can hold in your hands. It represents your maximum effort, your energy, your general activity. So we say, I will do my best to pass this exam. Or, it doesn't matter if you win as long as you do your best.
That is a great example. Now, let's look at some of those typical mistakes that English learners make. I know I used to make a lot of them. For example, what about mistakes itself? Did I just say make a mistake or do a mistake?
You said make a mistake, which is 100% correct. But many learners say do a mistake. They might say, oh, sorry, I did a mistake. But in English, a mistake is something you produce, even if you did not mean to. You create the error. So we always make a mistake. For example, don't worry about making mistakes. It is how we learn.
Ah, that is a beautiful way to look at it. Making mistakes is how we learn. I will write that one down. What is another common mistake you hear from your students, Alex?
A very big one is about the morning routine. Many students say, I need to do my bed in the morning. But this is incorrect. We say make the bed.
Really? Make the bed? But when I arrange the pillows and pull up the blankets, I'm not building a physical bed from wood. Why is it make the bed?
That is a very logical question. Think of it this way. You are creating order. You are changing the bed from a messy state to a neat, organized state. You are creating a tidy space. So we say, I make my bed every morning as soon as I wake up.
Ah, creating order. That makes sense. So making the bed is creating a neat appearance. What about money? If I am talking about earning money or starting a successful business, do I do money or make money?
You make money. This is another classic example of producing something new. You start with $0, you work, and now you have $10. You have produced wealth. So she wants to start her own business to make money.
Oh, make money sounds very positive. But what about when we talk about a favor? If I want to ask a friend to help me with something small, do I ask them to make me a favor or do me a favor?
This is one of the most common errors. Many languages use their word for make for this. So learners often say, can you make me a favor? But in English, it is always do a favor. Can you do me a favor? Because a favor is an action, a helpful activity you perform for someone else.
Okay, so a favor is an action. Could you do me a favor and feed my cat while I'm away this weekend? That fits perfectly. What about shopping? This one always confuses me. Do I do the shopping or make the shopping?
This is a fun one because they can depend on how you say it, but the most common everyday phrase is do the shopping. Just like housework, shopping is a regular chore, an activity. I usually do the grocery shopping on Saturday mornings. However, if you are talking about a physical list, you make a shopping list.
Oh, wow, that is a perfect contrast. I make a list because I am writing and creating a piece of paper with words on it, but I do the shopping because I am walking around the store, picking up items, and paying. That is the activity.
Exactly. You're getting really good at this, Hana. The list is a physical creation, so you make a list. The actual shopping is the action, the chore, so you do the shop.
This is actually starting to feel much more intuitive. Let's try another one. What about damage or harm? If a storm hits a town, does it do damage or make damage?
It does damage. The storm did a lot of damage to the houses. We use do with damage, harm, and good. For example, eating vegetables will do you good, or smoking will do harm to your health. These are all about the effect of an action, not creating a physical product.
So, do good, do harm, and do damage. Those are excellent phrases to memorize. What about a promise? If I tell you I will help you move next week, did I make a promise or do a promise?
You made a promise. A promise is like a decision or a speech. It is a verbal creation. You are creating a commitment. He made a promise to call his grandmother every Sunday.
That is a lovely promise to make. I should make that promise too. Okay, what about noise? If my neighbors are playing loud music at night, are they making noise or doing noise?
They are definitely making noise. Noise is something created that you can hear. It is a product of their loud music. The children are making too much noise. Please ask them to be quiet.
Yes, making noise is very common. So noise, promises, plans, and decisions are all things we make because we create them, even if they are not solid, physical objects like a cake.
Exactly. They are abstract creations. You create a noise. You create a promise. You create a plan. They did not exist before you spoke or acted. But with do, the activity itself is already defined, like homework or laundry or a job.
I think I am finally getting the hang of this. But, hearing the rules is one thing. Actually using them in a conversation when you're speaking quickly is a whole different story. Why don't we play a little game to test ourselves and help our listeners practice? We can quiz each other with everyday, real-life situations.
That is a brilliant idea, Hana. A live quiz is the absolute best way to make these rules stick. Let us do it. How about you start? Give me a scenario, and I will choose the correct verb or vice versa.
Okay, I will start. Imagine it is Saturday morning. You are looking at your dusty living room. There is dust on the TV, the floor needs sweeping, and the shelves are a mess. Do you make the cleaning or do the cleaning?
House chores. That is a classic. The answer is definitely do. You do the cleaning. Cleaning is a general task, a duty. It is not creating a new object. So you say, I need to do the cleaning this weekend. What is my next challenge, Hana?
Spot on, Alex. Now, let us stay in the house, but we move to the bedroom. It's morning, you just woke up, and your blankets and pillows are messy on the bed. Do you do your bed or make your bed?
Ooh, this is a tricky one for many learners because it is a chore, right? But the correct phrase is make your bed. Even though it is a chore, you are arranging the sheets and pillows to create a neat, orderly appearance. You are physically preparing the bed so it looks nice. So, I always make my bed as soon as I get up. Am I right?
Yes, you are perfectly right. Make the bed is one of those special exceptions that people just have to memorize. It's a physical arrangement. Okay, my turn to receive a challenge. Give me one.
All right, Hana, let's see how you handle this one. You are at work. Your boss asks you to look at some financial numbers and write a report. After an hour of hard work, you finish the report. Did you do a report or make a report?
Oh, that is interesting. A report is a physical document or a digital file that you write and create. But writing a report is also part of your job duties. Can I say both?
You actually can, but they have slightly different focuses. If you say, I am doing a report, you are focusing on the activity of working on it. It is your task for the afternoon. But if you say, I need to make a report, you are focusing on the creation of the document itself. However, in daily business English, we very often say, do a report for the task, or write a report. Let us try another office one. What about a phone call? Do you make a phone call or do a phone call?
That one is definitely make a phone call. You are initiating a conversation, creating a connection with someone else. For example, excuse me, I need to make a quick phone call to my client. Is that correct?
Perfect. You make a phone call, you make a mistake, you make a suggestion. Now, let us try a culinary scenario. You are in the kitchen. You have flour, sugar, eggs, and butter. You put them in the oven. When it comes out, it is a delicious chocolate cake. Did you do a cake or make a cake?
That has to be make a cake. You started with separate ingredients and created something completely new and delicious. My mother is going to make a cake for my birthday. This one feels very natural to me now because of the creation rule.
Exactly. You created the cake. But what about the dishes after you eat the cake? Do you make the dishes or do the dishes?
Oh, I definitely do the dishes. The plates and forks already exist. I'm just cleaning them. It's another household chore. I hate doing the dishes after a big dinner. This is fun. Let me ask you one now, Alex.
I am ready. Bring it on.
Imagine you are at school or university. You have a very big exam tomorrow. You need to sit at your desk and study all your notes so you can get a good grade. Are you going to make your best on the exam or do your best?
Ah, a wonderful motivational phrase. You always do your best. It is about effort and action, not creating a physical product. You want to perform as well as you can. Don't worry too much about the grade, Hannah. Just do your best. And what about the exam itself? Do you make an exam or do an exam?
As a student, you do an exam or take an exam. You are completing the task of answering the questions. But wait, what about the teacher who writes the questions for the exam? Does the teacher make the exam?
Incredible observation, Hannah. Yes, the teacher makes the exam because they are creating the test paper and the questions from scratch. The students then do the exam or take the exam because they are performing the activity. That is a perfect contrast to show the difference between creation and action.
That makes so much sense. The teacher creates it, so they make it. The student completes it, so they do it. I love how logical it can be when you break it down like that.
It really is logical once you see the patterns. Of course, there are always some collocations that we just have to learn by heart, but having these general guidelines helps immensely when you're hesitating in a conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Practice is key. The more our listeners hear these correct phrases and try using them in their own sentences, the more natural they will feel. Well, Alex, I think we have covered a lot of ground today. We talked about activities and chores for do, and creation, communication, and food for make.
We certainly did, and you did an amazing job with the quiz, Hannah. To all our wonderful listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us today on Easy English Podcasts. Keep practicing, don't worry about making mistakes, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.